Welcome to Books Arena. Today, we dive into a skill that can change your relationships, your career, and even your life: the art of having crucial conversations. A crucial conversation is not just any talk. It is the kind of discussion where opinions differ, emotions run high, and the outcome could change everything. These moments often come without warning: a disagreement with your boss, a difficult talk with your partner, or a conflict with a friend. And most people either avoid them, handle them poorly, or let them explode into arguments. But imagine if, instead of dreading these conversations, you could approach them with confidence. Imagine staying calm, speaking honestly, and truly understanding the other person, even when the stakes are high. The truth is, our success in life is often determined not by how we act when things are easy, but by how we communicate when things are tense. In these moments, words can build bridges, or burn them. In this journey, we will learn how to master those high-stakes talks, so that instead of creating distance, they create connection and results. So, let us step into the world of crucial conversations and discover how the right words, spoken the right way, can change everything. Part 1: What makes a conversation crucial? Picture this. You are at work, and your manager walks into the room looking frustrated. He says, "We need to talk about your performance." Your heart skips a beat. The air feels heavier. You try to prepare a response, but you already know this is not going to be an easy chat. Or maybe it's at home. Your partner says, "We need to discuss our finances," or "I am not happy with how things are going." Suddenly, you can feel tension rising. In moments like these, you are standing at a crossroads. This is what the authors of Crucial Conversations call a high-stakes conversation. It's crucial because three things are happening at once. First, the stakes are high: the outcome really matters. Second, emotions are running strong and those emotions can cloud judgment. Third, opinions differ: you see things one way, and the other person sees them another. Now, here's the thing: most of us are not at our best in these moments. We either fight, becoming defensive or aggressive, or we flee, avoiding the conversation altogether. And when we do speak, we often speak in ways that damage trust or shut down dialogue. But here's the truth: it's not the disagreement that ruins relationships or careers, it's how we handle it. The world's best leaders, negotiators, and communicators do not avoid tough conversations. They master them. The first step in mastering a crucial conversation is to recognize when you are in one. Many people miss this. They think they are just talking, but the signs are already there: your voice is tighter, your heartbeat is faster, and you start rehearsing what you will say in your head. In other words, your body knows the conversation is crucial before your mind does. In one real-world example, a nurse noticed a surgeon skipping a safety step during an operation. She knew saying something could save the patient's life, but it could also put her job at risk if the surgeon reacted badly. This was a crucial conversation in its purest form: high stakes, strong emotions, and differing opinions. The nurse chose to speak up, but not with anger or accusation. Instead, she used curiosity, respect, and clear facts. The surgeon listened, the step was corrected, and the patient's life was saved. That is the power of handling a crucial conversation well. The authors stress a key point here: when it matters most, we often do our worst. That is human nature. Our brain senses danger, not physical danger, but social danger, and our fight or flight response kicks in. That is why people either lash out or shut down. To change this pattern, we must learn a new habit: instead of reacting, we pause and create a safe space for dialogue. Safety is not about making the other person comfortable with your ideas, it is about making them feel respected enough to listen. People rarely listen to someone who they feel is attacking them. But they will listen if they feel understood. One useful insight from this part of the journey is this: we often confuse winning an argument with solving a problem. In a crucial conversation, winning is not about beating the other person. Winning is when both sides walk away feeling heard, respected, and committed to a shared outcome. Think of a time you were in a heated argument. Maybe with a colleague, maybe with a friend. If you are honest, you will notice that at some point, you stopped listening and started planning your next comeback. That is the turning point where most conversations go wrong. The authors suggest we need to shift from a mindset of argument to a mindset of dialogue. Dialogue means a free flow of meaning between people. Instead of defending your position like a fortress, you open up space where both sides can place their thoughts on the table and examine them together. In practice, this means Noticing when emotions are getting in the way. Asking yourself, what do I really want here? For me? For them? For the relationship? Keeping the purpose of the conversation at the center, instead of letting ego take over. This is easier said than done, which is why most people need to practice it. But once you understand that the real enemy in a crucial conversation is not the other person, but the breakdown of dialogue, you start to approach things differently. Here is the bottom line for part 1. Crucial conversations are defining moments. They are the points where relationships are either strengthened or weakened. When handled well, they can solve problems, build trust, and move things forward. When handled poorly, they can damage trust for years. So the first skill to develop is awareness that you are in a high-stakes conversation, awareness of your own emotional state, and awareness of the need for safety in dialogue. Because only when you recognize the moment for what it is can you choose the right way to respond. Part 2. Start with heart. Imagine you're driving to a meeting where you must confront a colleague about missing deadlines. You're frustrated, rehearsing in your mind all the ways their delay has caused problems. By the time you arrive, you're fully armed for a battle. Now pause. What's the likely outcome if you enter the room in that emotional state? Chances are, you'll sound defensive, they'll feel attacked, and the conversation will spiral. The authors of Crucial Conversations say the key to avoiding this trap is to start with heart. That means before you open your mouth, you must look inward. Why? Because your motives will guide your words, tone, and actions even if you don't realize it. When people fail in crucial conversations, it's often because they lose sight of what they really want. Instead, they focus on winning, being right, or punishing the other person. This almost always derails the discussion. So the first step in any high-stakes dialogue is to ask yourself, what do I really want for myself? For the other person? For our relationship? Take the example of Lisa, a project manager. She needed to tell her team member, Dan, that his constant lateness was affecting morale. Her first instinct was to lecture him to teach him a lesson. But when she stopped and reflected, she realized her true goal wasn't to humiliate Dan. It was to help him succeed, keep the team productive, and maintain trust between them. That shift in focus completely changed how she approached the conversation. Instead of accusing him, she began by sharing her observations, expressing concern, and asking for his perspective. Dan didn't get defensive, he opened up. They discussed solutions and agreed on a plan. By starting with heart, Lisa achieved her goal without damaging the relationship. But there's another danger. In heated moments, we tend to slip into the fool's choice, the false belief that we must choose between speaking honestly and keeping the peace. For example, you might think, if I'm honest, they'll be upset. But if I keep quiet, the problem continues. It feels like a lose-lose situation. The authors argue that the fool's choice is a myth. You don't have to choose between honesty and harmony, you can have both. The way to do it is to clarify your motives and refuse to let emotions hijack your purpose. One technique is to refocus on your goals whenever you feel yourself getting pulled into anger or defensiveness. Ask yourself, what am I acting like I want right now? What do I actually want? How can I behave in a way that serves that real goal? Here's a powerful illustration from a real corporate conflict. Two department heads, Mark and Jenna, were fighting over resource allocation. Each was convinced the other was selfish and unreasonable. In a mediation session, the facilitator asked them to write down what they truly wanted. Mark realized he wanted his department to succeed, but not at the cost of the company's success. Jenna realized the same thing. Once they acknowledged this shared goal, their tone shifted from combative to collaborative. This is the magic of starting with heart. When you enter a conversation grounded in your true intentions, you create space for respect and problem solving. When you enter driven by ego, you create space for resistance and conflict. Another tool the authors recommend is staying focused on what you want, not what you don't want. It's easy to get stuck listing everything you dislike about the situation or the person. But talking about what you don't want often leads to blame and defensiveness. Talking about what you do want opens the door to constructive dialogue. For example, instead of saying to your teenager, "I'm tired of you never cleaning your room," you might say, "I want us to have a home where we both feel comfortable and respected." That framing shifts the conversation from criticism to shared purpose. Of course, starting with heart doesn't mean avoiding the tough issues. It means approaching them with clarity and compassion. You still talk about missed deadlines, disrespectful behavior, or poor performance, but you do so with the aim of solving, not shaming. In crucial conversations, your heart is like the compass. If you don't check it before you start, you might head in the wrong direction and not even realize it until the relationship is damaged. But if you align it from the beginning, your words will naturally steer toward solutions instead of battles. Here's the takeaway. Before you speak, slow down. Ask yourself the 3 big questions. What do I want for me? What do I want for them? What do I want for this relationship? Keep those answers in mind, especially when the conversation gets heated. And remember, you don't have to choose between telling the truth and keeping the relationship. With the right mindset, you can do both. Because at the end of the day, crucial conversations are not just about exchanging words. They're about shaping the future of your relationships, your work, and your life. And it all begins with what's in your heart. Part 3, Learn to Look. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Everyone's smiling politely, but you can feel it, tension crackling under the surface. Someone makes a sarcastic remark. Another person suddenly goes silent. The agenda moves forward, but the real conversation, the one that matters, isn't happening. Why? Because no one is noticing the warning signs that the dialogue is breaking down. The authors of Crucial Conversations call this skill learn to look. It's the art of recognizing when a conversation has turned from safe and productive to risky and emotional. The problem is, most of us get so caught up in our own point of view that we don't see the shift. We think we're still having a rational discussion, but in reality, we've moved into fight or flight mode. The sooner you spot it, the sooner you can get the conversation back on track. So what exactly should you look for? There are 2 main signals. Signs that safety is at risk, meaning people no longer feel it's okay to speak openly. Signs that people are moving to silence or violence, the 2 common ways we react when we feel unsafe. Let's unpack that. First, signs safety is at risk. When people believe the conversation isn't safe, they stop sharing honestly. You might notice tension in their tone, short, clipped answers, sarcasm, body language closing off, crossed arms, avoiding eye contact. Sometimes, you'll feel it in yourself too. Your heart rate climbs, your voice sharpens, and suddenly you're more focused on winning than on solving. Second, silence or violence. Silence means people are withdrawing. They might change the subject, avoid answering directly, pretend to agree, then do nothing later, disengage entirely. Violence doesn't mean physical aggression, it's verbal. It includes interrupting, talking over others, sarcasm used as a weapon, attacking the other person's ideas or character. Think of it like this: silence avoids the conversation, violence attacks it. Both shut down real dialogue. The trick is to train yourself to notice these shifts in real time. Take the story of Adam and Priya, 2 team leads. In their weekly planning session, Priya suggested delaying a product launch by a month. Adam immediately cut her off. "That's ridiculous, we'll lose momentum." Priya's shoulders stiffened. Her eyes went down to her notes. She didn't speak for the rest of the meeting. If Adam had been trained to learn to look, he might have spotted 2 things. His own reaction was moving toward violence, dismissing and attacking the idea. Priya's reaction shifted to silence, retreating from the conversation. With that awareness, he could have paused, acknowledged the tension, and invited her to share her reasoning. Instead, the real discussion about whether the team was truly ready never happened. Another layer of learn to look is to watch for when emotions take over facts. In crucial conversations, facts are the foundation. Once emotions push them aside, we start telling ourselves stories about the other person's motives, about what they really meant, about why they're wrong. The authors explain that spotting this moment is vital, because it's often the turning point between productive dialogue and destructive conflict. Let's say your boss criticizes your report in front of the team. Fact: they said, "This section isn't clear." Story: they think I'm incompetent. Once the story takes over, your tone, posture, and words shift. You either clam up, silence, or push back aggressively, violence. If you can catch yourself in the moment, you can stop the downward spiral before it gets out of control. So how do you develop this awareness? 1. Observe yourself first. Ask, am I moving towards silence or violence right now? You can't control others until you can control yourself. 2. Then watch the group. Ask, are others shutting down or getting aggressive? If yes, safety is at risk. 3. Name it when you see it. This doesn't mean calling someone out in an accusatory way. Instead, you gently acknowledge it. It feels like we're avoiding this topic. Or, I sense this is getting tense, can we pause for a moment? One of the most powerful examples comes from a healthcare team in a high-stakes surgery. During the operation, a nurse noticed the surgeon missed a crucial sterilization step. She froze. Her silence could have led to a dangerous mistake. Later, in training, she learned to recognize that her fear of speaking up was a sign safety was at risk. By naming it, "Doctor, I'm concerned about this step," she could address the problem without accusation. This skill isn't just for the workplace. It can save friendships, strengthen marriages, and prevent family conflicts from exploding. Because if you can see the moment dialogue starts to crumble, you can stop it before it's too late. Here's the bottom line. Learning to look is about becoming a kind of conversation detective. You watch the words, tone, and body language, both yours and theirs. You notice when safety is slipping. You spot silence and violence before they take over. And most importantly, you act on what you see. You pause, address the safety, and steer back to honest, respectful dialogue. Because in crucial conversations, you can't fix what you can't see. And once you learn to look, you'll see more than you ever realized was there. Part 4, Make it safe. Imagine you're driving on a highway at 100 kilometers per hour, and suddenly, the road ahead turns foggy. You can't see more than a few meters. What's your instinct? You slow down because you can't move forward confidently without safety. Conversations work the same way. When people feel unsafe, they either slam the brakes, silence, or swerve wildly, violence. Progress stops, and instead of solving the problem, you're stuck in confusion, frustration, or conflict. The authors of Crucial Conversations tell us, if you want real dialogue, you have to make it safe. And that's not just a nice thing to do, it's the only way to have meaningful, high-stakes discussions without destroying trust. What does safe mean? In a conversation, safety has nothing to do with physical danger. It's about emotional security, the belief that you respect me. You care about my goals and concerns. If either of these is missing, the other person will shut down or fight back. Safety is like oxygen, invisible when it's there, impossible to ignore when it's gone. Think about the last time you were criticized harshly in front of others. The words may have been about your work, but if you felt disrespected, your instinct was to defend yourself, not to listen. 2 conditions of safety. The authors outline 2 key elements. Mutual purpose, you both believe you're working toward the same overall goal. Mutual respect, you both feel valued as individuals, even if you disagree. Lose one of these, and safety collapses. Your job is to restore them. Restoring mutual purpose. Let's say you and your business partner, Rohan, are arguing about whether to invest in a risky marketing campaign. He wants to go bold, you want to be cautious. The conversation turns heated because you both think the other is blocking success. Here's the thing, your underlying purpose might be the same, you both want the company to grow and succeed. But you've lost sight of that shared goal. To restore mutual purpose, you can step back and ask, what do we both really want here? Find common ground, we both want the business to grow without putting it in danger. Build from that shared point. When people see that you're aiming for the same bigger picture, they become more willing to listen. Restoring mutual respect. Sometimes, the problem isn't purpose, it's respect. Picture this. In a team meeting, your manager says, clearly, you don't understand how this process works. Even if their point is valid, the disrespect in the tone shuts you down instantly. Once respect is lost, no logic will get through until it's repaired. How to restore it? Apologize if you caused harm and mean it. A real apology acknowledges the hurt, not just the mistake. Acknowledge the other person's worth even if you disagree with their idea. Separate the person from the problem, criticize the issue, not the individual. Sometimes, just saying, I realize I spoke too harshly, that wasn't fair to you, can reopen the door. Contrast to avoid misunderstanding. One of the most powerful safety tools is contrasting, clarifying what you don't mean and what you do mean. For example, if a colleague thinks you're attacking their idea, you might say, I don't want you to think I'm dismissing your work. I do want to make sure we're considering all the data before we decide. This removes false assumptions and shows that your intent isn't hostile. Case study, making it safe in real life. A hospital had a problem. Nurses were afraid to challenge surgeons when they skipped safety protocols. The surgeons saw questions as disrespect. The nurses saw silence as dangerous. The solution? They created a script for speaking up that began with mutual purpose and mutual respect. Doctor, I know patient safety is your top priority, and I respect your expertise. I'm concerned that we skip the sterilization step. Can we double-check it? The result: fewer mistakes, better teamwork, and lives saved. Why safety works? When people feel safe, they stop defending and start sharing. Their brain moves from survival mode to problem-solving mode. They listen, they think, and they collaborate. Safety doesn't mean avoiding hard truths, it means creating a space where hard truths can be spoken without fear. Practical steps to make it safe. Spot when safety is lost, watch for silence or violence. Step out of the content, don't keep arguing the point, address the safety issue first. Restore mutual purpose, remind both sides of the shared goal. Restore mutual respect, repair the emotional tone before continuing. Use contrasting, clear up misunderstandings about your intent. The authors make it clear. Safety is not a soft skill, it's a hard requirement for high-stakes conversations. Think of it like this. If dialogue is the engine of progress, safety is the oil. Without it, everything grinds to a halt. So before you push for your point of view, ask yourself. Does this person feel I respect them? Do they know we share a purpose? If the answer is no, your first job isn't to argue harder, it's to make it safe. Because in crucial conversations, truth travels only where safety paves the road. Part 5, Master My Stories. Picture this. You're walking down the office hallway, and a colleague walks right past you without saying hello. What's your first thought? Wow, they're rude. Did I do something to upset them? Or maybe, they must be angry at me. Before you even know the facts, you've told yourself a story, and that story shapes how you feel and act. The authors of Crucial Conversations tell us that our emotions don't come directly from what people do, they come from the story we tell ourselves about what they did. If we want to manage our reactions in high-stakes moments, we must master our stories. From facts to feelings. Here's how it works. We see and hear something, the colleague didn't say hello. We tell ourselves a story about it, they must dislike me. The story triggers emotions, I feel hurt or defensive. The emotions drive our actions, I ignore them next time, or confront them angrily. The key insight. If you can control the story, you can control the emotions and actions that follow. The dangerous stories we tell. The authors warn about 3 common dangerous stories we tell ourselves during conflict. The victim story: it's not my fault. We paint ourselves as completely innocent and remove our role in the problem. Example: I'm always the one being attacked, they never listen to me. The villain story: it's all their fault. We exaggerate the other person's flaws to justify our anger. Example: they're just lazy and irresponsible. The helpless story: there's nothing I can do. We convince ourselves we're powerless, so we don't take action. Example: that's just how they are, nothing will change. These stories feel true in the moment, but they're often incomplete and they limit our ability to resolve issues. How to master your stories. Step 1. Separate facts from stories. Facts are observable and verifiable. Stories are the interpretations and judgments we layer on top. Fact: the colleague didn't say hello. Story: they're mad at me. When you feel strong emotions, pause and ask yourself, what are the actual facts? What am I adding to those facts? Step 2. Ask, what else could this mean? Instead of sticking to your first story, open up possibilities. Maybe your colleague was distracted. Maybe they had bad news. Maybe they didn't even see you. When you consider alternative explanations, your emotional intensity drops and you stay more open to dialogue. Step 3. Turn victims into actors. If you've told yourself a victim story, ask, what's my role in this? This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about recognizing your influence so you can change the outcome. Step 4. Turn villains into humans. When you villainize someone, you stop seeing them as a person with needs, fears, and reasons. Ask, Why would a reasonable, rational, decent person do this? This shifts you from anger to curiosity. Step 5. Turn helpless into able. When you feel powerless, ask, what can I do right now to move forward? Even small steps break the cycle of inaction. Story mastery in action. Let's take a real-life scenario. A manager, Priya, notices that one of her team members, Amit, has missed 2 deadlines. Her first story? He doesn't care about his work. This makes her frustrated, so in their meeting, her tone is sharp. But before confronting him, she separates fact from story. Fact, 2 deadlines were missed. Story, he's lazy. She then asks, what else could explain this? It turns out Amit has been covering extra work for a sick colleague and didn't want to complain. The issue wasn't laziness, it was overload. By mastering her story, Priya avoided a damaging confrontation and found a solution, redistributing the workload. The link between stories and safety. Mastering your stories also protects safety in conversations. If you walk in believing the other person is the villain, your tone, words, and body language will reflect hostility and safety will collapse. But if you enter thinking, they probably have reasons I don't know yet, you create space for dialogue instead of conflict. Practical tools to master your stories. Notice your emotions. Strong feelings are a signal that you're telling yourself a story. Pause before reacting. Give yourself a mental gap between event and response. Ask diagnostic questions. What's the fact? What's the story? Challenge your assumptions. What else could be true? Own your part. Acknowledge how you may have contributed to the problem. Why this matters. If you don't master your stories will master you. They'll push you into anger, defensiveness, or withdrawal before you've even confirmed what's real. When you control your stories, you control your emotions. When you control your emotions, you control your actions. And when you control your actions, you can steer crucial conversations toward resolution, not destruction. So the next time you feel your blood pressure rise, ask yourself, am I reacting to facts, or to a story I've created? Because if the story is wrong, your feelings and your reaction will be wrong too. Master your stories, and you master the conversation. Master the conversation, and you master the outcome. Part 6, State my path. Imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting. Someone suggests a plan you know will fail. You've seen it happen before. Your heart rate climbs. You want to speak up, but you're worried. If you're too direct, you might offend them. If you stay silent, the team could make a costly mistake. How do you express your view honestly without shutting others down? This is where the author's principle State My Path comes in. What is State My Path? State is a 5-step method to share your perspective in a way that is clear, confident, and respectful. Share your facts. Tell your story. Ask for others' paths. Talk tentatively. Encourage testing. Step 1, share your facts. Facts are the least controversial and most persuasive part of your message. They're the concrete evidence everyone can see or verify. Example, instead of saying, the project is behind because of poor planning, you could say, we've missed 3 milestones in the past 2 weeks. Facts give you a strong, neutral foundation. They remove emotion and accusation. Step 2, tell your story. After the facts, explain the meaning you've drawn from them. This is where you connect the dots, but remember your story is just your interpretation, not the ultimate truth. Example, because of these missed milestones, I'm concerned we may not meet the client deadline. By presenting your story as your perspective, you invite conversation instead of conflict. Step 3, ask for others' paths. Don't just present your view, seek theirs. Ask questions like, how do you see it? Am I missing something? What's your perspective? This shows that you value their input, even if it differs from yours. When people feel heard, they're more willing to hear you. Step 4, talk tentatively. This doesn't mean being weak, it means being humble. You share your point of view without sounding like you have all the answers. Instead of, we're going to fail if we keep doing this, say, I'm concerned this approach might not get us to the deadline. Tentative language keeps the door open for dialogue. Step 5, encourage testing. Invite others to challenge your thinking. You can say, if you see it differently, I want to hear why. Help me see what I might be missing. When you actively welcome disagreement, You create a safe space for honest conversation. State in real life. Let's walk through a real scenario. Ravi, a marketing manager, notices that his team's new campaign isn't attracting as many leads as expected. He's worried that the budget will be wasted. Here's how he could use state. Share facts. We've run the campaign for 2 weeks, and the click-through rate is 40% lower than our average. Tell story. I'm concerned this trend will hurt our sales numbers for the quarter. Ask for others' paths. What's your take on these results so far? Talk tentatively. It seems like our current targeting may not be reaching the right audience. Encourage testing. Does anyone see it differently, or have suggestions for a different approach? The result. Instead of defensive arguments, the team opens up, explores options, and agrees to adjust targeting, all without damaging relationships. Why state works? State strikes a balance between honesty and respect. It allows you to share your viewpoint without being pushy, and to challenge ideas without challenging people's worth. By starting with facts, you keep the conversation grounded. By telling your story, you explain your reasoning. By asking for others' views, you create collaboration. By talking tentatively, you remove ego. By encouraging testing, you build trust. Common mistakes to avoid. Starting with your story instead of facts leads to emotional reactions. Sounding certain and absolute shuts down discussion. Asking for others' views but not actually listening makes people feel ignored. Skipping the encourage testing step reduces openness to alternative ideas. The bigger picture. State my path isn't just for office meetings. It works in personal relationships, family discussions, and any situation where opinions differ. Imagine telling your spouse, "You didn't call when you were going to be late." Fact. "I felt worried something might have happened." Story. "Is there a reason you couldn't call?" Ask. "Maybe there's a better way for us to handle this in the future." Tentative. "What do you think?" Encourage testing. This creates a constructive conversation instead of a heated argument. From conflict to collaboration. When tensions are high, people often swing to two extremes. Silence, avoiding the issue. Violence, pushing their opinion aggressively. State offers a third path, respectful candor. It's about expressing yourself fully while staying genuinely open to others. The authors remind us, you can be 100% honest and 100% respectful at the same time. You just need the right structure, and that's exactly what state gives you. Your next conversation. Think about a conversation you've been avoiding because you fear conflict. How could you frame it using state? What are the facts? What's your story? How will you invite their perspective? How will you speak tentatively? How will you welcome challenges? Write it out, practice it, and then have the conversation. You may be surprised at how much smoother it goes. Remember, the goal isn't to win the argument. The goal is to create shared understanding so you can work toward a solution together. When you state your path, you're not just speaking your mind. You're guiding the conversation toward clarity, safety, and collaboration. Part 7, Move to Action. Picture this. You've just had a breakthrough conversation. Everyone has shared their thoughts openly, reached common ground, and agreed that yes, we need to do something. And then, nothing happens. Weeks pass, and the same problem remains. Why? Because the conversation ended without clear action. The final step of a crucial conversation is to turn dialogue into results to move to action. Why moving to action matters. The authors point out that many great discussions fail not because of poor communication, but because no one decides what to do next. It's like planning a road trip and then never getting in the car. Without clear action steps, people assume someone else will handle it. Efforts are duplicated or worse, forgotten. Frustration builds, and trust is lost. A crucial conversation isn't truly complete until you've answered. Who will do what, by when, and how will we follow up? From talk to task. The book outlines a practical process to ensure ideas turn into results. Decide how to decide. Document the decisions. Assign clear responsibilities. Set deadlines. Follow up and hold people accountable. Step 1, decide how to decide. Not every decision needs a group vote. Before you jump into action, clarify who gets to make the call. There are 4 main decision methods. Command, One person decides, often in emergencies. Consult, one person decides after seeking input. Vote, majority rules. Consensus, everyone agrees before moving forward. The method you choose depends on the urgency, complexity, and importance of buy-in. Step 2, document the decisions. Once a decision is made, write it down, whether in meeting notes, a shared document, or a project tracker. If it isn't documented, it's easy for people to forget or reinterpret what was agreed upon. Step 3, assign clear responsibilities. The most dangerous words in a meeting are, "We'll handle it." Who is we? That vague promise often means nobody does the work. Instead, assign a specific name to each task. Anita will prepare the proposal. Ravi will follow up with the vendor. Clarity avoids confusion. Step 4, set deadlines. A task without a time frame is just a wish. Instead of saying, "Let's get this done soon," say, "Let's have this completed by Friday at 3 p.m. Deadlines create urgency and allow for progress tracking. Step 5, follow up and hold people accountable. Accountability is where many teams stumble. Follow-up isn't about micromanaging, it's about making sure commitments are honored. A simple follow-up process might look like weekly progress check-ins, quick status updates in team chat, end of project reviews to see what worked and what didn't. A real-life example. Let's imagine a team working on a software launch. During a crucial conversation, they agree that the product needs more user testing before release. Without a clear action plan, here's what happens. One member assumes testing will start next week. Another assumes the marketing team is already working on it. The developer thinks the decision was just a suggestion. Result: confusion, delay, and frustration. With a move to action plan, it sounds like this. Decision method, consensus reached. Document, meeting notes sent within 24 hours. Assign, Priya will lead testing, John will recruit test users. Deadline, testing begins Monday, results reviewed Friday. Follow up, progress check-in on Wednesday via Zoom. The difference? The plan is clear, visible, and trackable. The accountability mindset. Holding people accountable doesn't have to feel like policing. It's about protecting commitments. If someone misses a deadline, you revisit the crucial conversation skills. Start with the facts: the report was due yesterday and I haven't received it. Share your story: I'm concerned we may miss our client's timeline. Ask for their perspective: what happened? Move toward a solution: what's the new plan? By keeping accountability respectful, you maintain trust while ensuring results. Common pitfalls to avoid. Vague agreements: if it's not specific, it's not real. No ownership: without a named person, tasks vanish. No follow-up: people assume everything's fine until it's too late. Overcomplicating the process: keep action steps simple and direct. Why this step completes the circle. The beauty of crucial conversations is that it starts with safety and honesty, moves through clarity and respect, and ends with results. You can have the most insightful, emotionally intelligent conversation in the world. But if nothing changes afterward, it was just a nice chat. Moving to action is the bridge from words to impact. Your challenge: think about the last important discussion you had at work, with family, or with friends. Did it end with clear action? If not, revisit it. Clarify the decision method. Confirm who's responsible. Agree on a timeline. Set a follow-up. Because in the end, conversation is the starting point, action is the destination. This concludes our journey through crucial conversations. We've learned how to stay in dialogue under pressure, create safety, master our emotions, explore others' perspectives, share our own path respectfully, and finally, move to action. Remember, it's not just about talking better, it's about living better. Because when you master crucial conversations, you master your relationships, your results, and your life. If you found value in this audiobook-style summary, don't forget to subscribe to Books Arena for more powerful insights from life-changing books. Your next great conversation might just change everything.